He won't let you go, but that doesn't mean he loves you. Or it could mean he loves you. Could be a lot of different reasons why this man refuses to either leave you or leave you alone. Why maybe you've tried to push him out the way, but he just keeps coming back over and over. Or why he won't even allow you to close the door on him because he's begging, he's pleading, he's crying, he's doing whatever it takes to hold on to you for dear life. And it can be confusing for you. It can make things very difficult for you. It could cause a conflict of them. Should I hold on to this man because his efforts makes me feel like he loves me? But what's really going on here? So I need to explain to you why this phenomenon happens to so many people, but I want to start off with a little story. I knew of a situation all right, where there was a young guy who was in a relationship for a few years. And during this relationship, this man was all over the damn place. I'm not even gonna lie to you. He was in these streets, all right? He was in these streets hard. And people would question him, like, you're with your girl and you seem to need fulfillment elsewhere. What's going on? And he would rave about his woman. His woman is great and she's this and she's that. But people are like, okay, but that doesn't make any sense. And he would make the argument, well, he's just a man and that's what men do. It's no big deal, right? But it was like, nah, this doesn't make sense. Because even though to some of y'all, I'm sure you've heard this before, that, well, it doesn't matter how great the woman is, men are just going to cheat. No, it's not how it works with everybody, all right? But let's keep going in this story. So it didn't seem right. And again, me knowing of this situation, I was around at that time, and I was like, nah, something's going on here. Because it just felt like there was a deeper rooted issue to what was going on. So before we even got to the deeper rooted issue, individuals tried to convince this man to leave his relationship. It was like, yo, something's clearly missing or something's not right, or you're simply not ready for this level of commitment. If she's a good girl, let her go. Leave her alone, be done. And he'd be like, nah, man, I can't do it. Still, baffled by this, we're like, okay, we just, and when I say we, the people in his life, the people that knew him, we wanted to dig deeper. So we dug deeper and we found that in some of his previous relationships, and we'll say one specifically, he had been with a woman for a while and never cheated. So we're like, wait a minute, hold up. You're claiming this is a man thing for you to be out here doing your thing despite holding on for dear life to this woman, but you've been in a relationship for years and not cheated before. So you've shown the capability to be completely faithful. What the hell is going on? He still tried to dismiss it, push it away. Nah, it's just, whatever. He really didn't have an answer, okay? Now listen, no one could control what this man did. It was totally on him, but it was just crazy to see the situation continue. But as time went on, finally there was a, I guess, come to Jesus moment, you could say. And this man revealed how, one, he was never alone. And that's the first thing I want to point out here. One of the reasons why he won't let you go is because he's afraid to be alone. He's afraid to have to be by himself. I think we speak about this issue in regards to a lot of women, but we don't highlight it enough when it comes to men. There are some men out there who have always had someone there, all right? Girlfriend, situationship, something's going on, but even more specifically, a relationship. And they are not accustomed to being single. And regardless of whether they want to live a single life, and again, as I said earlier, run these streets, they feel more at ease and they feel more secure, more safe having a girlfriend, having a woman, having a partner there. And in some cases, hell, even a wife. And so for this man, he struggled to let go out of the fear of how to function by himself. There was this void, there was this deeper insecurity within him. And now listen, I'm not saying this to in any way make what he did okay. or to validate it. I'm explaining to you what the issue is, and I want you to be aware of this because, again, if you are dealing with a man who you know you two need to go in separate ways, but he's not letting go, consider that this might be one of the roadblocks, all right? And so, again, this man fought it every turn, but his fear was something that he had to face. Now, anyone who's afraid to be alone has to face that because you don't ever want to be in a situation where you don't know how to walk away from something that isn't best for you, as well as isn't best for that person. Because he wasn't getting what he needed and his partner wasn't getting what he needed. They were both being cheated in this relationship. And so it's only fair, it's only right, it's only in the best interest of everyone involved to walk away. But that fear of being alone is a huge, huge issue. Now, let's continue with this. So we discovered he had this fear of being alone, right? But what else was it? Like, okay, is that really all it was here? Well, in his situation, no, it didn't stop there. And so another issue that we discovered was he felt like she would always be there for him. Essentially, she would never leave. And so, of course, this doesn't apply to a situation where you're trying to let go of this man and he won't let go. But some of you are with a man who you know in your heart is not best for you. All right? And when I say is not best for you, it doesn't always mean he's a bad guy. It doesn't always mean he's quote unquote actively toxic or blatantly toxic. It just means you know your heart is not here, or you don't belong here, or there's a disconnect in this relationship, or maybe that this started from a poor foundation. Like, again, it may have started because you were afraid to be alone. It may have started because you were in a vulnerable moment and the timing just happened to line up where he was able to walk through that door and now you don't know how to walk out of it. You know what I'm saying? There could be a variety of reasons that create unhealthy attachments to individuals. But again, for whatever the reason is, you're there, you know you shouldn't be there, or there's something in you that's not at peace, fully at peace being there. So you're not making anything happen. And for him, he views you as, this woman has my back. She is essentially the ride or die chick. For those of you who may not be familiar with that term, it's essentially the woman who will put up and go through any and every damn thing and stay by that man's side. And I do not encourage anyone to be a ride or die chick when it comes to tolerating nonsense, when it comes to remaining where they don't belong, when it comes to accepting things you should not accept, all right? But I've seen situations where the man views this woman as so loyal, as she will always be there, that I cannot afford to let this one go, even if I'm not in love with her, even if I know I am unable, or even in some cases unwilling to be the man she needs. She is viewed as too valuable of an asset, so to speak, because of her loyalty, because of the safety she provides, that she is not going to walk away. Now, again, I'm giving you a reason, and a reason that applied in this story that I'm telling you. But it damn sure is not a reason for you to continue to be there. And what you as a woman have to understand is you cannot wait on this man to do the right thing. You cannot hope that if something is missing, that he will be willing to call it out, that he will be willing to take the right approach, that again, that he will do right by you. It's going to be about you making a decision and sticking to it. And when you can understand that this is not where you belong, for whatever the reason is, you've got to be willing to let go. You've got to be willing to move forward without this man. But understand that, yes, not only will he not let you go, but that's another example of where you may even try to let him go and he will fight you every step of the way. And do not expect any man who is with you for the wrong reasons to let go of you for the right ones. And that just came to me. That just kind of hit me real quick, but that sounds real damn good because it's true. Like, you cannot expect him to process this correctly and say this is the right thing to do when he is the wrong man for you in the first place. All right? And that's why he even allowed himself to get with you, because he's not seeing things the right way. But let's move along. Now, I don't want to stay too much on the story because we got some other points that don't apply to the story. But let me just wrap up the story real quick. So, afraid to be alone. Felt like the loyalty was too valuable to let go of. All right? And I'm going to give you one more before to end this situation. He was afraid, or he did not know how to function without this woman. So a lot of men have become so attached to a woman. And again, it could be he's been with her 3 years, 5 years. Hell, there's some situations where the man's been with the woman 10, 12 years, 15 years. Maybe not even married her this whole time. But his life has centered around her doing things for him, her holding him down, her running the household if they're living together. Everything is so much on her that now he fears, how the hell am I going to get through a day without this woman? Now, not being able to function without you and valuing you in that way does not mean he values you the right way. Does not mean he's in love with you. Does not mean he is going to step up and to be the man he needs to be. It just means that he has become so reliant on you that he is afraid to let that go. And you may think, well, listen, if he's not into me like that, why can't he just get some other woman to do it? Why can't he just lean on someone else? That's the simple answer. But people get so conditioned and so used to an individual being there, it's just a very difficult transition. And again, I don't say that to give that man any sympathy. I say it to explain to you what's happening, the dynamic that's occurring in a lot of situations. So his struggle to be able to stand on his own 2 feet creates another attachment that causes him to hold on to you. And this is another reason why I have to say before I wrap this story up, don't get me wrong. I am all for a woman being supportive of a man, and I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman who's holding down the households, right? I do think there's a problem with a relationship where the woman is everything, where the man cannot function on his own, all right? I would encourage all individuals to learn how to function as single individuals who then come together and make a stronger unit. Even if in that unit, when we're together, we may have different roles. We may have different things that we focus our energies on. You know, let's just say she's cooking and cleaning and the man is providing and paying for the bills. If that's the thing that works for you, awesome. But that doesn't mean lack the ability to do in cases where that person is unavailable. It does not mean become so overly reliant on this person that now you become unhealthily attached to this individual and you cannot walk away. We have to be able to create an environment that allows us to, again, to stand on our own 2 feet, but to be able to rely and come together with someone. There is a balance that we have to strike with that. And so in this situation, that balance did not exist. And because it did not exist, again, he was heavily attached. Now, to wrap up this story, eventually, they went their own way and moved on to bigger and better things. Thank God. You know what I'm saying? Things had to happen. But it's just, in some situations or a lot of situations, there's never a breakup. Or it don't happen till, again, 15, 20, 30 years later. It don't happen till way more damage is done. And we got to be careful with falling into that trap. We've got to be careful with allowing these things to get the best of us, all right? So those are 3 quick ones, but I have some more points to lay out as to why he won't let you go. But before I do, real quick, get your copy of the book, He's Lying, Sis, all right? Which actually has a chapter in there called He Won't Let You Go, but that doesn't mean he loves you. Best-selling book, women are loving it. Click the link in the description or in the comments section. Now, I named some toxic things, and we got a couple more toxic reasons to list as to why he won't let you go. But let's talk about one that's not toxic, all right? And that is, he won't let you go because he genuinely loves you. I know if you follow me, I talk a lot about being in a wrong relationship. And let me preface this by saying, him Loving or caring about you doesn't automatically mean this is the right man for you or the right relationship. But I do want us to understand that not every man's attempt to hold on to a woman is something sinister or toxic or negative. Well, it can still be toxic the way that you look at it, but it's not with blatant malicious intent. He generally cares. He generally feels that he loves you, and I'll tell you why I said feel. And so he wants to hold on, and he doesn't want to lose you, and he, values you in his life. And one of the big keys to understanding if this man is coming from a place of at least perceived love, and when I say perceived, him perceiving that within himself, is what he's willing to do in order to make things work. So my thing is this: if you have a man who's holding on to you, but when you try to address the issues, he got excuses, he's got dismissal, he's calling you crazy, everything but actually fixing the problem or trying to fix it, then that man is clearly holding on to you for selfish, toxic reasons. End of story. But then there's that man who, again, at least either loves you or feels he loves you. And as long as he knows what the issue is, he's willing to try to work on this. And I say know what the issue is because there's so many situations where the man just doesn't know what the problem is. You haven't properly laid it out for him. He doesn't comprehend how you're feeling. Sometimes that is due to maybe his lack of connection with you to understand on a deeper level what's going on. But you have to make sure as a woman that you have done your part to fully lay out and explain what the concerns and the issues are and what the triggers are for you. And then you'll see how he handles that, which shows you where he's really trying to come from in his attempts to make things work. But I would also say, not just in him initially trying to fix it, but the consistency in it. Because there are many toxic men who could, for a week or two, try to do right. But then immediately go back to their old ways once they feel like they got you back in a comfortable space. All right? So it's about consistency. But I feel in my spirit the need to tell you one thing about this whole consistency part. If you want to see consistency, you also have to make sure you're acknowledging the effort. One of the things I've seen in a lot of situations, and I'm thinking a lot about my sessions with married couples, where let's say there's been issues for a long time, things have not been addressed properly for a while. So there's been a lot of bickering, there's been a lot of back and forth. Finally, it reaches that point where they're trying to get counseling, they're trying to get help. The wife says, this is my problem. Boom, 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 boom. He doesn't do this, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. All right? Husband hears that. He has his beefs too, but right now he's trying to make things right with his wife. So he's like, all right, cool, I'm going to do it. So for the next 2 weeks, let's say, he's going hard and he's making forth the effort, right? But because the wife has gone through, and this can apply to long-term girlfriends, wife, whoever. Because the woman has gone through an extended period of time of nonsense with this man or struggles with this man, she may now have a harder time fully trusting this is real. And in her mind, it's like, I need to see more of this before I embrace it. But unfortunately, your unwillingness to embrace the effort and acknowledge it makes him feel like his efforts are futile. Makes him feel like, what is the point of me doing all this if she's still looking at me sideways, if she's still talking that way to me, if she still thinks this isn't real or I'm not being genuine? That is discouraging to that man who's really trying to make an effort. Now, yes, we can make the argument that true change does not need acknowledgement, so to speak, because when it's who you are, it's who you are. But we have to be reasonable that in relationships, when someone is trying to become accustomed to a new behavior, become accustomed to a new approach to things, it can take some time. Rome wasn't built in a day. And so you have to make sure that if someone is making the effort, you have to acknowledge it. You want to make sure you're doing your part during that time, during that process. And then, and my thing is this, if they're real and they're genuine, they will keep it up when you're pouring back into them in that way. If they're not genuine and they're being manipulative, they will still fall off. They will still go back to their old ways because your reciprocation, your acknowledgement will make them even more comfortable. So you're only going to expose them more by doing it. So I highly encourage you to do it. All right. So getting back to the main point here is, yes, the man feels that he loves you. And the reason why I say feel is because, listen, I've had some situations where men came to me, asking me for advice, trying to figure out how to hold on to their woman, how to make this work. They don't want to lose her. And, they would say, I love her, she means the world to me, so on and so forth. But when we dug deeper, what we found was an unhealthy attachment, not love. All right. So sometimes the perception of love is not the reality of it. As well as the fact that I am a firm believer that true connection and what I would then deem true love is a two-way experience. It is both ways. And so that's why it's important for you as a woman that you don't base your evaluation of this man, this relationship solely on his efforts and his words. Because yes, he can say I love you. He can even do things that show love. That doesn't mean the fuel that is driving it is coming from love. How you will determine that, or how you will best determine it, is by asking yourself, are you truly in love with him? Because if you're not truly in love with him, then I believe, without a doubt in my mind, what you're seeing from him is not true love. It's not connection. Because again, that means it's not two ways. So he's pulling the strength to do these things from maybe fear, maybe attachment, maybe infatuation, obsession. There's other things that are actually pushing him. And this can happen both ways. You see this with women as well, trying to hold on to men that they shouldn't be holding on to. And they'll say it's love, but it's not actually love that's going on there. And that's not to devalue anyone's efforts, but it's to bring reality to what's going on in so many situations. So as a woman, you have to ask yourself, okay, do I feel a connection with this man? Am I truly in love with him? Because if you're not, it doesn't matter what he's doing. It doesn't matter if it's real, fake, love, not. It still says you shouldn't be there. It still means there is a place for you elsewhere. Maybe by yourself for a while, and then with someone else who is truly best suited for you and you best suited for them. So we have to consider that in this whole dynamic of him not letting you go. But yes, his belief of love, and in some situations, because I didn't really talk about it too much, let's just say there actually is a connection. And let's say when you ask yourself that question, deep inside, you do love this man. And again, you feel the connection with this man. But for various other reasons, you are trying to let go, or you are not willing to embrace what's in front of you. Might be your own fears. It might feel overwhelming. You may have a lot of outside noise. You may have difficult circumstances that make it hard for you to allow yourself to be with this man, or to do what's necessary in order to be with this man. All right. And so he's fighting to not let go because he's feeling what you're feeling. And so if that is the situation, I'm just going to encourage you to go deeper within yourself to address the issues that's blocking you two from coming together. Because if there is a connection there and you do love this man as he loves you, I would not want those things I just mentioned to stop two people who should be together from getting together. I want to see that happen. I want to encourage those situations. There's too many people with the wrong person. I don't want, and unfortunately, I see too many people who should be together not being together right now. I don't like this dynamic. And so, again, I want to encourage you to face those fears, to address those issues, to do what's necessary. It doesn't mean you have to jump in it right now. Maybe you got to take a step back to get things in order, but I want you to be intentional about figuring out how you can get to that point of being where you truly belong. All right? And I have to throw in, for those of you who are believers, this is why you got to talk to God. This is why you got to pray. This is why you got to figure out, how do I proceed? Not what I think I should do, not what my friends, family, pastor, whoever. No, what does God want me to do in this situation? And I feel bad saying it, but I'm going to say it because it's hitting my spirit hard. That even counts for some of y'all who are married. Now, listen, I know some of y'all going to be like, how dare you, Stephan? How can you say that? I'm not saying I'm necessarily for divorce or want divorce. But what I am saying is that a lot of people married the wrong person. A lot of people got into marriage without consulting God. And so now if you do come to God, I cannot rule out the possibility that you will have to be removed from that situation one way or another. That's not for me to decide. And I don't know any one specific situation to say who this should apply to. I'm just giving you a perspective to consider and to pray about it. Let God have the final answer. I know some will say, well, why would God say that? Scripturally, it says no. Listen, go to God in prayer. That's it. Just go to God in prayer and really tap into spiritually what you're being led to do and what needs to happen. All right. And what your next step, not even what the overall answer is, divorce, this, no, just God, what do I need to do next in this situation? What do I need to do next in my relationship? And then take it from there. All right, so let's move this along. I ain't gonna lie, I kind of went on a longer spiel than I expected with that last point, but let me try to kind of more quickly get through these next points, all right? So another reason why he won't let you go is that he doesn't want to be the bad guy. And so there's a lot of situations where the man knows, and what's hitting me right now is there was a very specific scenario where I had this long talk with this guy, and he confessed to me that the only reason why he married the woman that he's with is because he was afraid to tell her no. And so essentially she kind of was like, let's get married, and he didn't know how to just be real and said yes, but his heart was never there. And so whether it's marriage, whether it's a relationship, and it may not be that's how it started, but the reality is that once in it, some men don't know how to shut the door because they don't want to, in essence, or in the way they perceive it, hurt you. Even though holding on to you, especially if they can't be the man you need, is still hurting you. But the unfortunate reality is that some men have attempted to let go and the woman fought them. You may have been in that situation where he tried to break it off because he was trying to finally shut that door, knowing this isn't where you both belong, but you didn't see it that way and you try to hold on. And that's neither here nor there. The point is, we got to recognize, one, when a man is trying to release you, don't try to fight a man who wants to leave to make him stay. All right? That's the main thing, or one of the main things to take from this. I've seen it many times where a woman's fighting the man who wants, if he is trying to let you go, all right, and you know you did your part, and you know you've been the woman you need to be, all right, do not fight it. The last thing you want to do is to pressure a man into staying with you who doesn't really want to be there. You'll never get what you need. You'll never get what you'll deserve. You will never be truly happy. You will be kicking yourself in the behind for holding on or making this guy stay with you when he should have been gone a long time ago. All right. But also, yes, you know, a lot of men struggle in this area. And this is why, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot rely on the man to do right by you. You have to do right by yourself. And so once you recognize he ain't for you, you can't wait for him to be willing to pull that trigger. Because again, there's so many different reasons why he may not. You got to do what's best. All right. And release yourself from the situation that you don't belong in. All right. So another point to make is that he does care about you, but he's not in love with you. So now this is a little bit different from the earlier example of he loves you or his perceived love, because in that situation, he feels like I love her. He may even say I'm in love with her, like, and that's why he's so locked into trying so hard to not let you go. But this is a scenario where he knows he's not in love with you. He knows it's just not there. You know, he understands it's not really a connection, but he does care about you. He does enjoy you. He does value aspects about you, you know what I'm saying? But he's unwilling to release that. He's unwilling to let go of the benefit that you provide in his life, even though he knows he's not fully in love with you. And unfortunately, so many people, men and women, have been conditioned to believing that you don't need to be in love to have a relationship, right? And granted, you can get in a relationship without being in love, but you're not going to have a successful, long-standing relationship and a healthy one without true love being in place. But so many have seen their parents or grandparents and friends and families function without true love being in that dynamic. And so they've convinced themselves that it's all good as long as I do what I believe my part is, as long as I do enough, maybe not everything, but I'm doing enough, then what's wrong with it? And that's how they validate staying there and continuing this relationship. And so again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but this is why you cannot rely on someone to do right by you, because you don't know how they're processing this. You don't know why they're going to refuse, or they're going to struggle, or they're going to fight you on going your separate ways. But don't confuse the fight with genuine love. Don't confuse the struggle. Oh my gosh, he's having a hard time, he must love me. No. I'm sorry to laugh, but no, that doesn't mean love. There's all kinds of reasons, as I'm laying out for you, that contribute to why it's hard for him, but that doesn't mean you two need to be together. Plain and simple. So it's just something to understand and be aware of if you ever find yourself in this situation, or if you ever been in it and you didn't understand what the hell was going on. And now the last reason why he won't let you go is because there's kids involved. All right? So I've seen a lot of situations where, and again, it could be married or non-married. It makes no difference. The reality is that once kids are involved, it can make it harder for some individuals to walk away from a relationship. Whether it be because they fear not being able to be in their child's life, they may fear being put on child support, they may fear that woman bringing another man around. And though I didn't mention this as a point, and this is supposed to be the last one, I'm just going to throw this quick bonus in real quick. Another reason why he won't let you go is because he don't want to see you with no other man. Some men are just possessive as hell. And their obsession with you, their infatuation, their unhealthy attachment leads them to them being so possessive that they refuse the idea of another man being with you. Drives them crazy. And unfortunately, it creates some really bad situations sometimes. But that is a factor in some scenarios, okay? But going back to the kids. So yes, the kids being involved can be a problem. Now, some of you might say, well, listen, you know what? If kids are involved, shouldn't the people stay together? Isn't that a good reason not to let go? No. Here's the reason why. People are doing more damage to their children staying together in unhealthy relationships versus letting go and creating healthier environments. If you're gonna stay together and y'all can figure out how to make this a great relationship, a great relationship to where you're both happy and it sets a great example of love and commitment and all these beautiful things, all right, I'm not gonna argue. I'm not gonna fight it. Even though I still think if there's not a connection there, you don't belong there. But yeah, I'm not even going to make a but. If there's not a connection there, you don't belong there. I don't care what you think you can make work, because it's not sustainable. End of story. However, the point is, in 99, and I know I may be exaggerating when I say 99, but in a vast majority of cases, when people stay together for the kids, it does not create a healthy environment for the children. They stay together, but now the kids have to witness toxic energy, toxic relationships, bad example of what relationships, love, and marriage is. They start to have to deal with the backlash, because whether the individuals involved or not, whether the individuals involved realize it or not, the kids are seeing it. They're seeing the problems. They're seeing the tension. They're feeling the negative energy in the household. Also, when you have gotten done dealing with your partner and they done pissed you off or whatever, you don't realize how you're carrying that negative energy to your children. You don't realize how you might be short with your children, dismissive of your children. There's so many things that go wrong. So no, staying together for the kids is not healthy if you're not going to create a positive environment. And again, I would argue that if you're not where you belong, it's still not going to be healthy at the end of the day. The kids need to grow up and see positive, healthy environments and what real loving relationships are, so that they can have that same success in their life. Otherwise, you are setting them up for failure, as, and I say this with love, some of you have been set up for failure. Some of you are the result of this same dynamic of two people staying together for the kids and for various other reasons, and now it has created dysfunction within you and thrown you off and created all kinds of mess in your adult relationships, all right? And has created a need for healing that you have yet to address. And this is what you're going to put on the children if you do the same and keep the cycle going. So I encourage everyone to please, I understand that the desire to stay together is out of a good intent, but it's not going to accomplish what it needs to accomplish. So I would rather everyone heal and do what's best to create healthy, loving relationships and a healthy, positive environment. Letting go can be difficult, but in many cases, it is absolutely necessary. And unfortunately, in some cases, the man you're trying to let go isn't making it easy. All right. He's fighting tooth and nail to stay in your life. He is not going quietly. And that creates a lot of stress, or a lot of frustration. And it keeps you in a cycle that you do not belong in. And so a lot of women I want to encourage you, if you're going through that, or maybe you have a friend, because it may not apply to you right now, apply to a friend, a family member, someone that needs to hear this, how to successfully cut a man off, right? And let's just get right to it. Let's not even drag this out. And this wasn't even initially on my list, but it hit my spirit, so I have to speak on it first. Number one thing, the top of the line thing that you have to do if you want to successfully cut a man off is understand why he needs to go. Okay? That's the foundational piece to being successful in doing everything else I'm about to mention on this list. And I was really planning to start with a completely different, even funnier first thing, but we'll get to it eventually. Let's focus first on understanding why he needs to be let go. A lot of women struggle with sticking to keeping that man out of their life, or not falling back into a pattern of, dealing with him again, because they haven't accepted why he does not belong there. They're still either rationalizing, they're still questioning, they're still confused, they're still hoping, right? They're still fantasizing. And one of the things that lead to confusion is, but I still love him. I still feel for him, which is fine. That's understandable, right? But loving him doesn't mean he's the right guy for you. Loving him doesn't mean you need to be with him, whether that be right now or ever, okay? Sometimes you have to love people from a distance. And you have to understand that you need separation from this man, whether that's to set you free to receive who is, or if it's a situation that maybe can work out later on down the line, but it cannot work out currently as it is, continuing to deal with him. All right. So you've really got to come to peace about why this man needs to go, and accept it and not fight it and dance around it, because without that, you're going to have a hard time sticking to anything else I mentioned on this list. Okay. And for those of you who are believers, part of what's going to strengthen your acceptance or understanding of why this needs to go is you actually praying and asking God, does this man belong in my life? And receiving that clarity from God can help strengthen you to stand on the ground you need to stand on. So make sure, if you're trying to navigate past this or help someone navigate past it, you accept why he has to go. All right, so now let's get to, we can count that as like a bonus, all right, an intro bonus. Let's get to some of the main things I want you to do to successfully cut a man off. And the first one on the list I'm going to talk about is call the police. Listen, I was going to say this to the last, but I figured let's start off with a bang. All right, let's get right to it. Now, all jokes aside, I don't want you to jump straight to that. All right. All jokes aside, let's not escalate situations that don't need to be escalated. But let's just get out the way the simple fact that sometimes it may get to that point. Some people will not take no for an answer. Some people will not give you the peace and the rest that you are trying to get by releasing them from your life. And you have to, at the very least, be prepared to take it to that level if they won't do what they're supposed to do. You got stories of some men popping up at this woman's job, doing this and that. And some people may find it cute at first because he's trying so hard. But there comes a point where it's like, listen, enough is enough. I need you to respect that I don't want to do this anymore. And you got to go. And you got to put it out there. If you persist, and you will leave me no choice but to get the authorities involved. All right. Some of you may have to get to a point of filing a restraining order. My hope and prayer is that it doesn't have to go that far. Right. But again, it is something that has to be considered. Now, for those of you who might be dealing with a man who is a danger to your life, okay, who there is a heightened threat, then of course, absolutely, one, you got to consider the police, not even consider, you got to get them involved, right? File the restraining order, even if you feel like, well, the police can't, because I'm not going to lie, I'm not well enough versed on how that whole dynamic is handled initially, but I think at least putting out, filing reports, something so that we have a paper trail of what's going on here is going to be good for you. Now, I think there's other outlets like the National Domestic Abuse Hotline and things of that nature you can look into to help you if you are in that position. But either way, it is unfortunately something that you may have to implement, right? But before we jump to that, outside of the man who's a danger to you, let's consider some of the other things you can do to successfully cut a man off. All right, so now let's get to a less intense approach to take. And another thing you can do to successfully cut a man off is be very honest and transparent about why you are cutting him off, okay? Here's what I'm saying. And this is in the instance, of course, where this man is persisting. Because, of course, if you say, let's just say you ghosted somebody because you're like, okay, I don't want to deal with this anymore, so you just stop talking to him. And he rolls with that, then okay, problem solved. But sometimes that's not going to work, and he's going to be pushing. And what I can tell you is that a lack of clarity creates confusion, and confusion can create chaos. And sometimes people's persistence and unwillingness to accept you letting them go is because they don't understand why. This isn't making any sense to them. And when you try to feed them BS answers, BS explanations, explanations that don't make any sense, or they can pick up on you're not being real and honest about things, that will only add more fuel to the fire. Okay. Now, does it mean that 100%, as long as you're honest, they're going to fully accept that? No, not always. But I do feel that what I've seen in many situations is that level of honesty, because sometimes once you actually make it clear, so let's say, for example, it's a nice guy, and he's treated you well, but it just is not working. You're not happy there. You don't want to do this anymore, right? So to him, this is like, why? I don't get it. I was good to you. I did the things that you wanted. And let's say at the core of this, you're not attracted to him. And you were never really attracted to him, but you tried to force yourself to just give it a try. Now, I know that it's hard to admit that because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings and tell them you were just never attracted to them. All these things, I get it, right? And I understand why many will attempt to give some other kind of roundabout answer to avoid having to keep it that real. But again, you risk them not giving up because your answer's just not making sense. Okay, if you're saying stuff like, well, I just feel like we weren't on the same page. What do you mean? I did what you asked of me. I was showing up. This doesn't make sense. So now I keep pushing. But when you hit them with the truth like that, one, that's hard to bounce back from. And it's just like, there's not an angle to fight that on. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like, damn, it's defeating, but all right, that closes that door. And so there's going to be situations where, yeah, it requires you just being that honest, even though you may not want to reveal certain things. Now, of course, I know I can't assure that everyone's going to be honest, depending on what their real reason is. I'm just encouraging what I believe is going to help as a more effective approach to actually getting this man to back off and accept that you are cutting him off, letting him go. So you want to, as much as possible, be open, be transparent. I also think that in being open and transparent, let them speak their piece. So what I mean by that is, by not letting people get things off their chest, that again causes the issue to linger, right? And it makes it harder for them to walk away and let go. But letting them speak their piece, whether that be via a letter, whether that be a last conversation, I do think can be very helpful to just, all right, we're going to discuss this, or you can lay it all out for me, and then we're done, because there's nothing else that needs to be said. You spoke your piece, I spoke my piece, we're clear about what's going on here and why we can't continue, and then we move forward. All right? And again, I'm not saying any of these methods are 100% foolproof, will always work, but I do believe they will increase the chances of bringing closure to situations and not having it linger on, causing you all kinds of extra stress. All right, so now here's another thing that you can do to successfully cut a man off. We just spoke about it, but I'm just going to quickly highlight it again. And that is now making sure you get everything off your chest, okay? So we talked about letting him speak his piece, but yes, you need to speak your piece too, because again, there's two parts of successfully cutting that man off. There is him coming to acceptance and accepting the release, and there is you not staying in conflict that draws you back into the negative cycle. And for a lot of women, for a lot of people, I always say you heal by releasing, not by suppressing. When you don't get things off your chest, you are holding on to this energy, these feelings that now only linger inside of you. And because they're lingering inside of you, and through moments where you might be triggered, are coming back to the forefront of your mind, it keeps this unhealthy attachment alive to this individual. And now that opens the door for him being able to slide back in, or you maybe even reaching back out and now finding yourself back into the cycle. For you to truly be free, you have to free how you feel. You know, it's like how scripture says the truth will set you free. It's not just like knowing it, it's speaking it, it's living in it, it's walking in it. That will set you free. So consider that you have to take those steps too. Now, I think the most effective way for most people in most situations to accomplish this is via a letter, because verbal communication of deep feelings and concerns typically in many cases don't go well, because people start to listen to rebuttal, they deflect, they get defensive, you may get distracted, you may forget some of the things that you wanted to say, and now you have some stones that were left unturned. There's a lot that can go wrong in a verbal conversation. However, writing a letter allows you to get everything out, gather your thoughts, express yourself in the most effective manner, being mindful of your tone, all these different things. And it also, for the sake of them even being able to receive your message, it allows them to read to understand. Because again, when people talk, they tend to listen to rebuttal, but when they read to process. Okay? And for that reason, the message has a greater chance of resonating with them or getting through to them on a deeper level. So I do think that if you are struggling in this area or haven't addressed it, write that letter. Now, there will be some instances where just writing the letter without having to send it can be acceptable. I'm going to always say talk to God about that aspect of it. But I think at the very least, you should write the letter. Because even if you're not going to send it, releasing how you feel is going to allow you to feel much better and strengthen your ability to not fall back into the negative cycle. All right. So here's another, and I would say this is a big one. When trying to successfully cut a man off, stop talking to friends and family about him. And not only stop talking to friends and family about him, let them know to stop talking to you about him, okay? Because there's a lot of situations where you're trying to break free and your own family may have an attachment to this man being in your life, okay? And they may be struggling with what is the end of your situation, right? Or they may just be trying to be there for you. And in that, they're not mindful of the fact that they're constantly bringing it up and checking on you about it, which is only making it harder for you to move forward and move past it. So you want to make sure first that you are not the initiator of these discussions. And it's very normal. We're all human to initially want to talk to somebody and express yourself or get their opinion. Understandable. Again, be careful of how many people you let into this dynamic, but it's understandable. But there has to be a cutoff point. There has to be a point where we say, okay, we've discussed it. Because what happens a lot of times is you end up having the same discussion over and over and over and over again. So it's like you're not even accomplishing anything positive. You're just constantly venting, maybe hoping that someone will say something new and different, right? But it's not even happening. And it's like, now it's getting to a pointless place. So we want to make sure we are not initiating these unnecessary conversations after a certain point, right? But then again, we're letting people know, hey, let's just leave it alone. Let's not discuss it. Let's move forward so I can have more peace and not keep falling back into it. And I will say that if you are dealing with a family or friend who does themselves have an attachment to what maybe they were hoping the outcome of this situation would be, you just have to be honest with them about it. You almost have to do with them what you were going to do with what you're doing with the man you're cutting off. Meaning, make sure you're being honest with them about why you had to let go. Make sure you express your deeper understanding of why this has to be done right now. All right. Be transparent. And don't, if they are holding on to a hope, sometimes we need to discuss that. Meaning, okay, if you have a parent and they just keep bringing them up because deep inside, they were hoping that this would be the guy that you could get married to and have kids. And they're struggling with letting go of that dream that they thought was going to finally come true in this situation. I do think that there needs to be a discussion like, listen, I get it. I understand. But you have to understand this was not the right person for me. And I need you to respect that. And in helping me or in not causing me to struggle with this, it will allow me to be ready and prepared to receive the person who is. So if you really want this for me, then don't work against me in this process. Work with me and help me get to a better place, and don't keep putting this on me. And I think I would hope, and I do believe in many situations that will help many to back off, chill out, and understand they're causing more harm than good by holding on to their dream and not respecting where you need to go in your life. All right, so real quick, before I continue, I just want to shout out the team, the organization that's helped me for many years with my YouTube videos, with captioning and all these things. And if there's any of you who are doing YouTube, doing videos anywhere that could use these services, check out ubooster.com, right? Or you can email brianongaga@gmail.com. Great guys, great company. They've done tons of great work for me, and I know they'll be great for you as well. So again, you can go check out ubooster.com. All right, so we got a few more to go. And another thing to be mindful of when trying to successfully cut a man off is do not entertain his attempts, okay? So if you are serious about this is done, and you know, and you come to true clarity and peace that this is not the man for you, and I'm saying it like that because some of y'all might be in a situation where you're reacting negatively to a situation that can be fixed. I don't want to cause confusion. I'm just going to say pray about it, okay? And just putting it out there. But if you know this is not the man for you, this needs to be done, you're letting him go. Again, you got to understand that even in some of the most unhealthy, toxic relationships, that man is not going to go easily. Especially if you have been basically holding him up. Meaning, like, I ran into somebody over the weekend that was dealing with a guy who was previously in jail. And since he's been out, they've been together for a few years and he's cheated constantly. But he's always saying, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. And she was like, do you think he'll ever change and get better? And I was like, listen, one, based on what you're telling me, no. But I said, understand something, because she's like, yeah, but he's always begging me not to go and to stay. He's going to do better. I said, if you are taking care of this man, if you have been his backbone and giving him a place to stay and all these different things, he has no reason to let go. Of course he's going to fight it. Of course he's going to beg. Of course he's going to say, I'm sorry. But he's not changing his behavior. He hasn't. So there's no reason for us to believe that now it's going to all stop. It'd be one thing if there was a very specific issue that needs to be addressed. And even then, with their specific situation, I don't think that would necessarily apply in other people's situation, possible. But bottom line is like, you're providing for him. He can't cut off that lifeline. So don't confuse his fight to not let go as in, well, maybe he does love me and he will change. No, he just has reasons to hold on to the resources you bring to the table for him. Plain and simple. So with that guy, you can't entertain his attempts. You can't entertain his I'm sorry. You can't entertain when he pops up at the job. You can't entertain when he calls you. What happens in a lot of situations is a woman is trying to cut this man off, and every time he texts you, you're responding. What you responding for? If you're serious, you got to stop responding, because every response is hope for him to keep pushing. Every time you entertain a conversation or you entertain him when he popped up at your job, whatever, it's fuel for him to keep pushing. And in many cases, he knows, especially and more specifically when we're dealing with a very master manipulator type of dude, he knows if he keeps pushing enough, you're going to break. That at some point, you're going to give in and let him back in. And we're right back to square one. So the only way you can stop him is, or at least have a great chance of stopping it, is you got to stop entertaining it. And so that's why sometimes you got to delete the messages, block social media, you got to do everything. You got to do whatever it takes to protect your peace and to ensure that you're not going to keep falling back into this cycle when you already know for sure this is not the man you need to be dealing with. This is not the man for you. And he has not shown up as that man for however long you've been dealing with him. All right, so we got a couple more to mention. And this, I talked about it earlier, but I want to bring it back up because I need to add a little more context to it. So the other thing to do to successfully cut a man off is let him speak his piece, but don't dismiss how he feels, okay? Here's why that's important. I know some of y'all are like, hell, I don't give a damn about his feelings. And I understand in certain situations why that would be the case, right? But the goal isn't about honoring his feelings for his sake, so to speak. We're focused on how do we create resolution? How do we put an end to this negative cycle? And what I see is that if someone expresses themselves and you get caught up in trying to dismiss how they feel or dismiss their perception of things, you are then either roped into a battle of fighting what the real deal was, or they now have fuel to where they can't give up in letting you go because they feel like you're just not seeing it the right way, and they can convince you to see it the right way, then you might change your mind. You see what I'm saying? So you only set the stage for more battle. And we're trying to avoid that. So it's not about even having to agree with him. I don't have to agree to not dismiss, right? So basically, if the guy says, well, I just felt like, you weren't giving me enough of an opportunity to change. And let's say damn well you done gave this man tons of opportunity to change. You don't have to get into fighting with him about that, because sometimes that's the manipulation tactic.
is to try to turn the tables on you and make you feel like you did something wrong and the problem is really you, not him. And then you get into battling that, and before you know it, he done roped you back in, okay? You can simply say, okay, I completely understand how you feel. Doesn't change how you feel about it. Doesn't change your stance. Doesn't change the fact that you still have come to the conclusion that this is what is best for you right now, and it's time to move on. Do not fight what he's expressing. Do not dismiss. Do not get caught up in trying to battle points that are irrelevant to what the overall issue is and what the outcome needs to be right now. All right? Plain and simple. And if you can conquer that, you will be able to avoid a lot of headaches and a lot of unnecessary back and forths. All right. And now another thing you can do to successfully cut a man off, and it's another one of those things I mentioned, but got to add some more to it. And as I mentioned earlier, it is block him on everything and remove his stuff. So let's talk more about the remove his stuff for a second. I see a lot of situations where women are trying to break free from this guy they should no longer be with, but they still want to hold on to sentimental things. They still hold on to things that remind them of this man. They still hold on to things, or they're still even lurking on his social media, right? And it's like, all you're doing is torturing yourself. All you're doing is making things harder for you to move in the direction you need to move in. Now, I understand there could be deeper reasons why someone is not ready to throw stuff away, right? Fine. Maybe it's not you have to throw it all away right now. Maybe it's put it all in a bag, give that bag to a friend and tell them, hey, just keep it in your closet somewhere. I just don't want to see it right now. And maybe when you get to a more clear-headed place or a more peaceful place, you can make a final decision on whether you want to throw away the stuff or what you want to do with it. Sometimes also the things that remind you of him are things that you value. Like, I don't know why I'm thinking about this right now, but let's just say he bought you that TV. And every time you look at that TV, you think about how he got that for you. And you don't want to throw away the TV because you ain't got a replacement for the TV right now. And you like your TV, okay? So I get where that might be difficult. And so I understand there's exceptions to every rule, but I do think that anything that you can remove it. Anything that's going to cause you to stumble, remove it. And be honest with yourself about what needs to go. And I do think, even though I made the joke about the TV, if that TV is really causing you a problem to find peace and move forward, then yeah, you got to get rid of the TV too. All right. Again, if you're not ready to throw it away, give it away, put it away somewhere until you get to a place where you can handle seeing these things or being in the presence of certain things, and it doesn't trigger you. It doesn't have that negative impact on you. It goes back to being just the TV rather than the TV he got me. When you can get to that place, all right, cool. But if you're still stuck on that's where he got me and that's just playing in your head, that's a problem. So, take an inventory and in taking an inventory, pray, ask God, is there anything I need to do to help me break out of this, to help me not fall back into this cycle? And again, make sure you heal. And when I say heal, don't just focus on only healing from this relationship or this situation. Heal from everything in your past that hurt you, because all of those things are contributing to the struggle you're facing right now, or may, God forbid, face with somebody in a future situation like this. So when you do all of the work to release all those things that's been lingering within you, you will give yourself the strength, the power, and the peace of mind to overcome all these obstacles and to be in a position to receive what is truly best for you.
Letting go is freedom. And freedom is a key to your happiness. But I understand the struggle of getting over someone. I understand that you may have been trying for a long time right now to let this man go, to get over being with him, but it's still haunting you. It's still sticking with you, and you're struggling to move forward. Now, I want you to understand you should not beat yourself up about this, because this is normal. This is typical, so to speak. So many people go through this in their relationships, men and women. But I'm focused on helping you as a woman learn how to get over him by understanding why you're struggling to, understanding what is the root issue that needs to be addressed and resolved so that you can achieve that freedom. So the number one thing you have to understand as to why you're not getting over him is because you haven't let go of the fantasy and face your reality. Now, what I mean by that, there's a couple angles to explore here. One, it's the fantasy of who you wanted him to be or believed he would be. Now, I completely understand that there are going to be relationships where a man presents himself one way and turns out another way, all right? And I'm not going to sit here and say that no man has not ever fooled a woman with coming out with his representative. I will say, and I feel the need that I have to say, that in many cases, in most cases, if not damn near all, you saw something. You sensed something, you felt something. But the blockage then is the same blockage now. And that blockage was you holding on to what you wanted to believe it was. Now, again, I know some of this is going to hurt, and it is hurting you right now to hear this. But I say this to you with love and with the desire to break you free from that bondage that you've been dealing with this whole time. All right. And so, yes, believing he could be something else, all those days and nights that you dreamed of what the relationship can turn into and become, that has created an unhealthy attachment to this man. And you're still holding on to that hope. You're still holding on to that belief. Part of what feeds that belief as well is the fact that there were many good times in the relationship. Like, it's very rare to find a situation where someone was in a relationship and there were no good times whatsoever. If there were no good times, most people would not remain. People get stuck or struggle to let go because they weigh those good moments against the bad. But the reality is that in most situations, at least in the ones where this was a man who was not truly for you, there tends to be more bad than good. And I have to say, even if there was more good than bad, if at the core of it, he was not best for you, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't change the fact that he had to be let go of. But again, your struggle to move forward is because you're thinking about the good so much. And it's not that I want you to simply dismiss the good that did exist, but I want you to remind yourself of the reasons why you had to let go in the first place. Not to dwell in negative thought. And I damn sure don't want you creating a false narrative in order to make it easier for you to move on. Because I see this issue where some women will be with a man, and let's just say in this example, he wasn't the worst man. He wasn't a bad guy. He was actually a good guy. But her heart wasn't really into the situation. And eventually she couldn't take it anymore and she lets go. But in order to make it easier for her to stay away and to validate her decision, she now creates this false negative narrative of that man and tries to nitpick the things that he may have gotten wrong or mistakes he may have made to say, hey, you see, he was a bad guy. Or you see, he didn't have good intentions. I don't want you to do that because that's unhealthy. And if you're not acknowledging the truth, because though it's basically doing the same mistake that we talked about. It's holding on to a fantasy, not a reality. But in this case, it's creating a false nightmare rather than accepting reality. I don't want you holding on to anything fake in your head. And I don't want you to hold on to anything that doesn't paint the full picture, all right? So essentially, I don't want you to just dwell on the good times because then you forget why you were supposed to walk away. And I don't want you creating bad times, but I do want you to acknowledge the bad. I do want you to acknowledge the truth of the situation. And I do want you to understand that you don't need good or bad to validate what you did or what you needed to do. What you need is to know that in your spirit, you do not belong there. And if you do not, let go and move forward in peace. But when you understand the reasons for your struggle, and I have more that I'm going to list out, then you can start to address those reasons in a way that will now give you more strength to release and to truly overcome all of this. Which brings me to the second reason why you struggle to let him go or struggle to get over him is because you've invested so much time and energy into this man, all right? So one thing I've learned is that especially for women, it's very difficult to get over a man or a relationship when you have invested so much into it. The sacrifices that you made and what you hoped you would get a return on that investment, and when it doesn't come to fruition, that's a very tough pill to swallow. And the struggle to let go stems from wanting that return, wanting the fruits of your labor, wanting to see that all of that work, energy, and time wasn't in vain. And so now you become unhealthily attached to that investment. And that's why it's extremely important as you move forward in other relationships, or for those of you who are currently in a relationship, you've got to make sure that when you do for your partner or when you do in a situation, you are not, it's done out of a genuine love. It's done out of what you are comfortable doing. It's done with a true peace in your heart. Because if it's done simply looking for a specific return, that is the slippery slope that can throw everything off. All right. And so you've got to be mindful of that. So to give a more specific example, if you were dating a man and you were hoping for him to fully commit to you, all right, and let's just say getting in an official relationship, because sometimes getting over him isn't a guy that you were in an official relationship with. It could have been a situationship that you spent a lot of time in. But either way, let's say you thought, okay, I'm going to do all these wifey duties. I'm going to cook for him. I'm going to be there for him. I don't know why I feel the need to say, I'm going to write his resume. I hear that I get so much, I have to mention it. I'm going to be his rock. I'm going to make sure he has everything he needs. But you're doing it with the hopes that he will see your value and then commit to you. And now when he drags you along for months, maybe even years, and then it comes to an end and you never get that commitment, the reality is that your struggle to get over him isn't about him as a man. Because him as a man throughout that whole situation, he wasn't pouring into you, truly, not consistently at least. He wasn't the man you needed. He wasn't truly making you happy. But you got so caught up in trying to get a return on what you gave that now your regret, your hurt, your struggle is because, dang, I never got my money's worth, so to speak. All right? And I don't want to feel stupid about how much I tried with this man. And not just the investment in what you did. Hell, it might be the investment in how much you tried to convince people around you that this was good for you, even though it wasn't. It might be the emotional investment you made in trying to convince yourself. And you don't want to face that reality. But again, understand and differentiate between, is your struggle getting over him, or is the struggle getting over all that you did for him? And that, again, you didn't feel like he properly repaid you for your efforts, so to speak. He did not honor your efforts. He did not respect your value. When you start to understand that difference, it helps to break you free. Because again, now you realize it's not him. And the problem is when you attach it to him, rather than separate the issues, you now fool yourself into believing you are still in love with him. You fool yourself into believing that he might be the guy because you feel some kind of way about the situation. But again, it's not him. It's all that you did for him. So the investment creates, and all these things I'm listing for you, they all contribute to creating unhealthy attachments. And that's what happens in a lot of situations. And I have to mention, listen, because not every situation of you not getting over him is about unhealthy attachment. Wait till the last point and I will explain more. But getting back to the main point here, yes, that investment you have to be mindful of. And also, this is another reason why For those of you who are in the dating phase or early in the relationship, once you sense as a woman that this is not the man for you, you've got to cut him loose as soon as possible. Because the longer you let him linger, the longer you stay in this situation, the stronger the attachment becomes. Because again, as time goes by, the more you invest emotionally, physically, hell, sometimes financially, all right? More is going to occur, more is going to be piled on that's only going to cause a bigger struggle for you. So you've got to be quick to recognize when this is not for you and release it before matters gets worse. All right, so let's keep this moving. And now the third reason why you can't get over him is because you're afraid to start all over. And real quick, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this video. I appreciate your support. But back to number 3. You're afraid to start over. I made sure I use the word officially start over. Because again, many of you have broken up with this man. Whether you pulled the trigger or he did, you are no longer with him. And you may actually be kind of dating, right? Like one foot in the door, one foot out. But the reason why I'm using the word officially start over is because emotionally and mentally, you haven't fully embraced letting that situation go. And so you're not really emotionally available for anyone else. You may be physically dating people. You may be on the surface seeming like you moved on. But deep from within, you are still attached, all right? And because of this, your ability to actually have a real relationship is slim to none. And so that's why you haven't officially embraced starting over. You haven't officially embraced getting to know someone new and being fully present in that process, all right? And there's a part of you that may still be hoping that things will change with this ex. Again, you may be still holding on to the fantasy, not the reality of the situation, not the reality that he is not best for you, not the reality that maybe it's just about the timing is not right. Whatever it is, you've got to embrace restarting the process. And I know this is tough for everybody. No, especially, and again, I have to highlight this point, especially when you have spent the last few years in this situation. Again, it becomes harder to get back out there when you just got out of a year-long or years-long situation or relationship, all right? And that's why I stress so much in this video and other videos, we've got to learn to cut people off fast. I'm not trying to sound insensitive. I'm not trying to be unreasonable. What I'm saying is it doesn't take us long to recognize when something is wrong, when that person is not for us, when this is just not really going to truly work. We've got to accept that rather than rationalize past it, because again, all we do is make the situation messy, all right? And now, again, because we spend so much time with them, we don't want to go through it all over again. We don't want to have to deal with someone new. We don't want to have to go through the long talks and the dates just to hope it will work out, because the reality is that you might have to go through 10 more. Don't get scared by the number 10. I just threw it out there, all right? But you might have to go to 10 more situations. And if we do it the right way, it won't be 10 more situations of months or year-long dynamics before you recognize this person isn't for you. When you hone your skills and we can make those next 10 weeks long, maybe, days long, maybe, it becomes so much easier to keep the process going. But either way, the point here is to highlight the fear of starting over keeps you attached to that individual, keeps you attached to that man, and causes you to struggle to get over him. So again, you've got to recognize that for what it is and understand what's really driving your struggle so that you can address that issue. And now we can talk about how you can be more at peace with starting over, how you can better equip yourself in starting over, but know when that's the issue rather than the man himself. Now, before I get to the next point, actually, let me mention this. You also have to understand that not accepting letting this person go, not accepting starting all over, not accepting that you got to come to peace with the investment that you made and you're not going to get what you hoped out of it, is only going to block your blessings from receiving that person who's truly for you. It's only going to get in the way of your true happiness and peace. So getting to that point of resolving these issues, again, because I don't want to just say get over him. You know, how many times has someone who's been hurting been told, well, just get over them, forget about them, they're not good? That doesn't really work. And that's why I do a video like this, because I feel that when we address the true root issues, now we can truly set ourselves free, all right? But understand that, yes, this is necessary for you to have what's truly best for you and that amazing relationship that you truly desire and deserve. All right, so now we're at the fourth reason why you can't get over him, is because you developed a sexual attachment to this man. So listen, we're not going to get into whether you should have had sex or not or whatever, right? This is the reality is you did. All right, for those of you who this applies to, you had sex. And I have to say this, it may have been good and it may have been not that good. Now, the reason why I have to throw in the not that good part is because sexual attachment isn't simply about the sex was great, all right? I have sat down with tons of women who struggle to let go of a man who they can acknowledge completely that he did not satisfy them sexually, that it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be, all right? Now, to their friends and family, she got them thinking the sex was great. But in reality, it wasn't. But the attachment comes from the giving of herself. Again, this is kind of going back to the investment physically. For some women, just laying down with that man, and we can look at it from a biological perspective, spiritual perspective, whatever. However you want to break it down, the reality is that for many women, the simple act of having sex with him can create an attachment to him, all right? And the sacrifice that you made in giving yourself, especially continuously giving yourself to a man, when it wasn't that great. So let's highlight that for a second. That makes it, I don't want to say that makes it even worse. That contributes to an even stronger attachment in the sense that you feel as a woman, damn, I sacrificed my pleasure because I wanted to keep this man in my life so bad, and still this man, it didn't work out, or he let me go, or I had to whatever the reason is. Your struggle to let him go, again, comes from you gave so much to him, and sex could be one of those things. But then there is the dynamic of the sex is good. That he may satisfy you in a way that other men don't or other men have not. All right? And this now creates an unhealthy attachment to this man. But what you have to understand is that if he's not best for you, it's not sustainable. All right? If he's not truly best for you, there's not a real connection there, then what you're experiencing may actually be fool's gold. Now, I'm not saying no situation isn't actual good sexual experience, but what I can tell you, for a lot of women, sometimes that good sex is actually you enjoying being desired. That good sex is you enjoying the intimacy that comes afterwards from it. That good sex is you enjoying having a man in your life. And so what I'm saying to you is that it's not that the actual sex is good. It's the thrill of it. It's what the other energies that it brings to you. It's the other aspects that you're able to feed off of that makes the whole totality of it more enjoyable. But if you literally removed these other things and it was just sex with this man, it may not be that great. And again, I'm only providing this perspective to simply help those of you that need your eyes opened because you have mixed up or confused these things. You have allowed yourself to believe that sexually it's him sexually, and it's like, no, what's really going on here? And you gotta, again, get to the root of these issues if you're going to properly address and resolve them. And so now listen, again, I don't want you to beat yourself up over getting attached to him sexually and engaging with him in that way. I simply want you to, again, understand your struggle and also understand that sex alone cannot sustain you. So even if it's great sex with this man, if he cannot treat you the way you need to be treated otherwise, if he can't pour into you the way that you need otherwise, if he cannot provide you with an amazing relationship overall, then that great sex isn't worth it. And know that when you are with the right man, the sex will be way better. No matter how good you think it is with that dude, the sex is going to be way better, or it can become way better when you align yourself with the person you should be with. All right, so now the fifth reason why you can't get over him is because you don't believe better exists. So as I kind of mentioned with the sexual attachment, for many women, there becomes this belief that, well, this is the best you ever had. How can you really expect it to get better than this? And this happens romantically as well, or emotionally as well, with men, where I've seen women who've become attached to men because what they said to me was, he treated me better than anyone else. But what's important to understand about that was the bar was set low. So basically, this is a woman, or these are women who have gone through unhealthy relationships, sometimes very toxic, can be very abusive. And so now they meet this man who may not be for them, and for whatever reason, something's off, but he treats her better than those guys did. So where they treated her like poorly, he treats her well. He's a genuinely good guy, maybe. But again, that doesn't mean he's the right guy. So good guy does not equal right guy for you. And because he's not the right guy for you, this is how we end up in a situation where you and that man will break up at some point. It's pretty much inevitable. And again, now you find yourself struggling to get over him. But you got to understand that there is better for you. And if you are a believer in God, God is not trying to set you up to settle. All right? And let me be very clear about settling. Settling isn't, from my perspective, it is not when someone, let's just say a woman says, I want a man who is 6'2", makes 150 grand, no kids, loves his mother, and I don't know, jumps out of airplanes. I don't know why that came to mind. Anyways, the point is, all right, she has her list of things that she desires, right? And then she meets a man who's 5'10", makes 80 grand, has a kid, scared of airplanes, right? But the connection is like no other. The love is like no other. There's so much there. Her embracing that man, you embracing that man who fell short of your list, does not qualify to me as settling, okay? Because he may not have everything you wanted, but he has everything you needed, all right? Whereas that other guy on the list may have given you everything you wanted, but trust and believe that relationship would have fell short anyway. So when I say God does not want you to settle, I am saying that, yes, it may not look like the package that you have painted in your head. It may not be everything that you wrote down on your list, depending on what the list is. However, it is going to still be a man who can make you happier than any other man can make you. It will be where you can have your most successful relationship. It will be where you can find true fulfillment and peace, all right? And that is what you should be striving for. So you've got to understand that, yes, better does exist in regards to your happiness, your peace, love, connection, communication, all of these things. It is there waiting for you. But you've got to understand that by not believing it exists, you create an attachment to your ex. You make it more of a struggle. And if you are one of those women who have had an ex tell you you will never find anything better, rebuke that, okay? Rebuke it immediately. Like, do not accept such nonsense coming out anyone's mouth. Like, listen, if he is not the one God says is for you, then better exists. And the quicker you are to embrace that, the quicker you will be to being able to free yourself from your ex and set yourself up to receive who is truly best for you. All right, so now let's get to number 6, but real quick, be sure to get your copy of Love After Heartbreak. If you are struggling to get over an ex, if there is past hurt that needs to be resolved, this book is going to help you with healing from everything. Be sure to get your copy. Click the link in the description of the comment section or go to loveafterheartbreak.com. So the 6th reason why you struggle to get over him is because you are fighting how you feel, not resolving it. So I'm going to make this quick. What I have seen, the mistake I have seen many women make is either trying to distract yourself from how you really feel or beating yourself up because you keep thinking about him. Why aren't you over him? And what happens is those actions, more specifically the beating yourself up, is like fighting in a net, all right? Or fighting in quicksand. The more you fight, the deeper you sink. So when you fight how you feel, you continue to put that man at the forefront of your brain. You actually make it harder for you to move forward and to release him from your spirit and from your mind. So don't fight it, all right? But also understand that the whole distracting method, it may seem better on the surface. A lot of you run to dive into your kids or into work or into extracurricular activities, whatever, in order to not think about this person and not dwell on the situation. But all you're doing is masking the issue. You don't resolve it. And then what happens is when maybe you see him or something on social media is posted, something happens that triggers you, it pulls it all to the surface, and now you're a wreck. So you don't do yourself any favors by fighting it or trying to distract yourself from it. You've got to accept there's nothing wrong with still feeling love for an ex. There's nothing wrong with you needing time to fully get over him or the relationship. Don't dwell in the misery of the struggle. Just embrace the process of moving forward and making progress in the situation. So in essence, all right, be able to say, yes, I still have love for him, or I still love him, but I understand he's not best for me, or I still love him, but it's just not time for us right now. Because again, timing could be an issue, and we're going to highlight that in the 7th reason. But whatever it is, accept it. Accept how you feel, but don't react to how you feel. So the problem isn't that you feel a certain kind of way. The problem is when you let how you feel in a moment drive you to take actions that are not in your best interest. When you allow you thinking about him to think, well, let me call him, let me text him, let me show up at his job. Some of y'all may have done it, all right? Like there's different things that people do when they struggle with this. Don't react. Accept, process. If you're a believer, pray, and just move forward, focusing on where you should put your energy. Because the difference between a distraction and focusing on the right things is that distractions can sometimes be unnecessary things added to your life in order to, again, not accept what your reality or what you're struggling with. Putting your energy into other things is going through a process of acknowledging, what do I need to be working on right now? What should be a priority, and putting my energy in that. So it's a more fruitful thing when you focus your energy on the right things versus just trying to find a distraction. But yes, don't fight how you feel, accept it, and do what's truly best for you. Last but not least, the 7th reason why you can't get over him is because you do have a genuine connection with him. So listen, the first 6 reasons I really was focusing on situations where he's truly not best for you. And that, honestly, that breakup is a blessing, and you have to see this as an opportunity to move forward and onto a path where you can get the blessings that you truly deserve. But we can't ignore the fact that sometimes the struggle is because something real exists, because there is real love, because there is real connection. But for various reasons, you can't be with this person right now, whether it be something that you're struggling with, whether it be them not being able to accept how they feel and what needs to happen here, whatever the case may be, we have to understand that I believe personally, when there's a true connection, you cannot destroy it and you can't create it. It's either there or it's not. And so when connection is there, we don't lose how we feel about that person. We don't, can we get over it in the sense of we can still function in life and live a healthy life and move forward? Absolutely. So I don't want you to think that just because there's a genuine connection that you can't live a full life right now despite you not being able to be with that man. But the idea that the feelings will just go away, I think that's an unreasonable expectation to put on yourself. All right? And so that goes back to point number 6 of accepting how you feel, but understanding where you are in life right now. Understanding that, yes, it might be right person, wrong time. This does happen for various reasons. People still need to heal. People need to go through their own process. You may have been able to cross paths with this man in order to see what is waiting for you down the road. But as a reminder that you need to prepare in the meantime. Because if it's not happening right now, then that means there are things that both of you need to be doing. Both of you need to be focused on your personal growth, your healing, all the things that will set you up for success when the time possibly comes for you two to be together. Now, again, when I talk about connection, I believe it to be a spiritual event or a spiritual occurrence. So it's important that I say to you, you have to talk to God about this. You've got to allow God to lead you in this situation and to verify with God, is this connection one that is true and this is the person that really is for you, but right now it's just not time? Because I don't want someone to watch this and misinterpret what they feel as connection and hold on to something that is not best for them. So again, we've got to go back to praying and as a woman, trusting your intuition, going deeper from within and understanding that by healing from your past, you not only prepare yourself to have a successful relationship going forward, but you will allow yourself to see things more clearly. All right? But ultimately, the struggle to get over him, again, it's normal. It's okay. You're human. Just shift your focus on what you need to do to set yourself up for success in every area of your life. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. My prayer is that you will receive a man who loves you, not just wants to use you. But the unfortunate reality is some of you have already had to deal with that man who was just trying to use you. Some of you